All right. And let's roll the intro. Okay.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making the plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. Great eye in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics never the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays. Like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. Network. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
All right. We are live. Welcome. Monday night, everybody. Welcome to Bring It, episode 2. I am your host, the Big Dog. With me is my man, Ray. What's up, Ray? How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How y'all doing tonight?
Oh, we are good. My boy, Andrew. What's up, Andrew?
What's up, man? How are you guys?
We're good. And Felix is in the house tonight. What's up, Felix?
What up? What up?
Cool. We got Philly, we got New York, we got Jayville, we got Florida, we got everything in the house. We're gonna have a good night tonight. We're gonna kick it off with some football talk. There's been a lot of stuff that went on all weekend as far as football goes. The big story of the weekend was Drew Brees, after 20 years, finally calling it quits. He decided, you know what, 20 years, it's enough. He's got a Super Bowl ring. He's got so many passing records. Ray, where does Drew Brees stand as far as all-time quarterbacks with you?
He's in the top 5. I feel like he's going to be a first-team ballot Hall of Famer in 2026 when his 5 years is up after he retires. He played 15 years for New Orleans Saints, won in the Super Bowl MVP that year with the New Orleans Saints. He played over 20 years, 5 years with the San Diego Chargers. Drew Brees, to me, he's a model. You gotta underthink when he expires in New Orleans. He's a well-known person in New Orleans. He helped out with Katrina, all the victims in Katrina and stuff like that. He's a good but he had over 80,358 yards, rank him number 2 all time. 571 touchdown passes. His completion rating was 67.7. So I think he's up there in the very top of the league. But he's in my top 5. So.
Oh, definitely. What he did after Katrina for that city was just amazing. Felix, where does Drew Brees stand with you?
I'd say the same, but I think he's going to be like closer to top 10 in a passing league like it is, but still a first ballot Hall of Famer. But in all honesty, I don't think he was ready to retire. It took him this long to say it. I think the Saints had to tell him to retire. Watching last year's stats compared to the rest of his career, you knew he was done. He couldn't throw the deep ball anymore. I think they just told him that's it.
Well, it's funny. All the teams are trying to clear out cap room, so they probably were like, look, Drew, you got to make a decision before the new league year starts. And as you know, the league year starts, I think Wednesday is when the league year starts or something like that. Yeah. So they probably, as you just said to Drew, look, make the decision. Andrew, where does Drew Brees stand for you as far as all-time quarterbacks?
I would go and agree with Felix as well, as probably in my top 10 too. I would have loved to have seen him win more than just one Super Bowl. The records that he holds, though, you can't argue beyond that. I'm sad to see such legend have to call it quits, probably, as Felix said, forced out by New Orleans. But the numbers speak for themselves. He was a 13-time Pro Bowler. He led the league in passing yards 7 times. He led the league in passing touchdowns 4 times. The 7 times that he led the league in passing yards is also an NFL record. The numbers speak for themselves. So I definitely would put him at the top 10, but it's hard to put him at the top 5 with only one Super Bowl.
No, I tend to agree with that. And the crazy thing about Brees, if you think about it, he spent those first 5 years in San Diego, and then when he was eligible to or was released or something like that, he came down to Miami, and Nick Saban went and signed him. Think about that. The Dolphins had a chance to have Drew Brees, and they're like, no, his shoulder's bad. Then he goes to New Orleans and puts up, just stupid, ridiculous numbers. But I mean, could you imagine if that being your ball club and missing out on a player like Drew Brees? I mean, that's just crazy. Think about it. I mean, like Ray, you're a Jacksonville guy, man. They would love to have even a remotely a Drew Brees down there, right?
Yeah, that is correct. That's what we're hoping. We're in the line for Trevor Lawrence now. Hopefully, we don't make that mistake and go over with somebody else.
Exactly. Well, moving on to another quarterback who is over 40. Tom Brady had a contract extension. He said he wanted to play till 45. His contract goes past that. At this point, Felix, I mean, do you see him, playing the rest of this contract out, playing past 45? I mean, he seems to be in the physical condition to do it. What do you think, Felix?
Nah, no way. I just think he did it to clear cap room. You just saw they signed Gronk to a 1-year, $10 million deal. They just signed, I believe it was Shaq Barrett, the linebacker, to a crazy deal. A lot of teams are having cap issues, but they're giving out tons of money. I'm like, oh, man. But, I just think he did it just to clear some room up. He wants to do it twice in Tampa, and that's it.
Well, it was interesting. I don't know if you saw the report that on the podium, his wife said to him, "What else do you have to prove?" Well, Andrew, what else does he have to prove?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Maybe win a Super Bowl with the Jets. If he can prove that, hands down, can't even debate the GOAT. But I mean, he's the GOAT anyway. Yeah. He has nothing left to prove other than winning a Super Bowl at 45.
Right. No, it's crazy, and Ray, I want to ask you, it's amazing how Brady's career, how it started, how it is at this point, and to see a player of his age and his peak physical condition in a league that has more running quarterbacks, even the young guys, even Trevor Lawrence is coming out. It's got great speed. Brady never had speed. So how has the game surpassed other quarterbacks, but it hasn't surpassed him?
Because Brady knows how to work that pocket. He knows how to move around in that pocket. You don't have to escape all the time. All you got to do is move around. He knows when the players get open. He anticipates. He's got a great anticipation when the players get open. He throws before they even cut into their breaks. He knows exactly where to put the ball out when the receivers come out of their cuts. He knows just about every play in the offense, and he knows how to read defenses. So, I mean, he doesn't really have to move around. He's got the good protection. So, that's got that safety blanket. But let me talk about his deal here. Tom Brady's extension, he's got to play at least to 2022. So, he's got to play this year and next year. After 2022, he can void the rest of his contract because that's what the language in that contract is. I researched his contract. Tom Brady saved the Buccaneers $19 million. By redoing his contract. That's how they can re-sign these players. But when they go back and re-sign these players, they said these players with some guaranteed money that doesn't count against the salary cap. So that's why you see these astronomical deals. And when they go to the salary caps, they're still underneath their salary cap, the dead money. So the guarantee is your dead money. You don't even go against your salary cap. So that's why you see these guys getting the astronomical contracts, because they're getting these guarantees, and then whatever the slaps at the end is going to go against their cap room. So Tom Brady saved them $19 million. So that's how you can go out and get Gronk for 1 year for $10 million. That's how you can go out and get Barrett his astronomical price money, because Tom Brady's a team player. He will cut down his deal to work with the team to keep his same team. And that's what happened here. If you look at Tampa is not really losing that much. They franchise tagged Godwin. So they got a receiving core that's probably got 2 number ones in their receiving core. So, I mean, it's going to help Tom Brady out. You just resign his safety blanket in Gronk. So, that's what he does. He checks down to that tight end when the safety blanket, when the pockets go down, either he's going to take a sack or he's just going to throw the ball away, or he doesn't need a run. So that's the difference here, because his mentality is he's always been that good. He's been standing up. He doesn't get too many sacks on him. They got their tight ends who can chip to help the offensive tackles to get that chip block on them, so they can stymie the double team. And he gets the ball out quickly too. So.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. He's kind of doing, it's almost like he's become the assistant GM, as you just said, clearing cap space, getting more players in there, whereas with Belichick, and we're going to move on to Cam Newton in a minute, Belichick was all about, getting guys before they got too old, getting them out, whereas Brady's like, look, these guys got talent. Let's all come together. Let's put it together. So let's move forward on to New England. New England re-signed Cam Newton again for a 1-year deal, $14 million. That includes all the bonuses he could get if plays a certain amount of downs, a certain amount of yardage, that whole thing. But Andrew, is Cam Newton going to be the starter, or is this just another Belichick plan to maybe draft somebody, because they've got a pretty decent draft choice this year?
So you mentioned $14 million, but only 3.5 of it's guaranteed. So they're going into this with minimal risk. And they could absolutely go ahead and draft a quarterback and then reevaluate in training camp. And if they put him on the bench, if that's what it comes to look out for the rookie quarterback, or if he's going to be there to start and mentor this guy off the bench, either way, to only have 3.5 guaranteed, minimal risk, and if he does perform and overexceed, then it was well worth the money. But his best days are behind him, but right now, going into this season, putting up 3.5 with all the incentive and the bonus in the back end, they really don't have much to lose.
No, that is true. That is true. Felix, where are you at with the Cam Newton thing, considering the season he had last year and what's going into this year? Guys coming off who didn't play last year, they decided to opt out. Guys are opting back in on New England. They just signed the tight end from Tennessee. Where do you see Cam Newton this? Yes. What do you see them doing this year with Cam Newton as their quarterback?
So I was reading this story when it broke, and it reminded me of Chad Water Pistol Pennington after he got his shoulder surgery and he couldn't throw the ball past 10 yards. And that's what I saw from Cam Newton last year. He can't throw the ball. He's turning it into McNabb, where he throws the ball at the ground every single time. And he's looking at the receivers like, why aren't you diving for it? So I think his best days are done. I think they just signed him just to have backup relief because their backup Stedman or whatever his name is. Yeah. He's I'm shocked he's still on the team. But they have a good selection at number 15. I predict they're going to try to get Mac Jones at Alabama and go from there.
No, that's a good prediction because Saban and Belichick are definitely they're buddies, so I could definitely see that happen. Before I get to you, Ray, I want to go back to Andrew. He made a Chad Pennington comparison. You grew up, you're a huge Jet fan. Do you see some Chad Pennington and Cam Newton?
The only similarity that I see is the number ones at each one in their jersey, except Pennington has a 0 after his. That's about
it. All right, cool. Very good.
And the zeros are about what he did for the Jets.
Yeah, exactly. Ray, where are you at with Cam Newton? That was a good one. Where are you at with Cam Newton, Ray?
I'd be, like I said, if they do get like a Mac Jones as quarterback, you sign Cam Newton for a specialty. You sign him for when they get in that 10-yard line, that 5-yard line, goal line. You got to look at Cam Newton's legs is more important than his arm. And when you get in that range where he can run the ball, he can be that threat. He still can throw the ball, but he's not accurate with the ball. But he had over 2,657 yards and 8 touchdowns and 10 interceptions in his first season with New England Patriots. That's not a very good ratio as a quarterback. But when he became a runner, he had 592 yards on the ground and counted for 12 rushing touchdowns. So I think Cam Newton was signed more as a specialty player, and they're going to go out and get another quarterback who can play them downs between the 20 and the other, between the 10 and the 10. And when they get to the 10 and goal line in, you're going to see Cam Newton come in. And that's when they're going to be able to score more. So I think Cam Newton was really signed as a specialty player, not as a starting quarterback.
Well, that's an interesting point because I remember the beginning of the season last year, Cam was getting good looks at the goal line and getting in pretty easily. Towards the end of the year, not so much. So I could definitely see Belichick drafting an offensive lineman and trying to build up that line. And as you say, Cam will be their goal line specialist. You know, kind of like New Orleans does with what's his name? With Taysom. Yeah, exactly.
Taysom Hill.
Taysom, you know, who's now going to be the starter, maybe, but you know, we'll see. We'll probably next week we'll discuss that. We'll see what Jameis Winston will do. Aaron Jones re-signed with Green Bay this week. He decided not to play the field. He decided to take a 4-year deal, stay with Aaron Rodgers. So the Aaron and Aaron show stays in Green Bay. You know, Ray, do you think they made a good choice by keeping Aaron Jones, or do you think they could have maybe, you know, upgraded that running back position, or did Jones say, you know what, Aaron's got it, I could win a ring here? What do you think?
I think it's both. They like Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones did produce over 1,400 some yards during the regular season, but the only thing I'm worried about Aaron Jones is when it comes to postseason. He had that one good postseason against the LA Rams, but then he choked against a defense that it was pretty much there. I mean, he only had like under 10 yards in that game. So I like his stuff, and I think he complements that team. But, you know, an interesting case when I did the research on Aaron Jones, you know, Aaron Jones and Jim Brown are the only NFL to rush for at least 3,000 yards, 35 touchdowns, while averaging 5 yards per carry over the first 4 seasons. Wow. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good with him being matched up with a Hall of Famer like that in his first 4 years of his career. You know, and then if you want to go a little bit further than that, Aaron Jones was a 5th-round pick from UTEP in 2017 draft. There's only 3 players to rush at least 2,025 touchdowns over the past 2 seasons. That includes Tennessee Derrick Henry and Minnesota Vikings Dalvin Cook. So he's in a very good category when you're talking about the elite running back. So, you know, I think he wanted to stay there. I think he thinks he can win the Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. And the only thing that Green Bay really needs is another wide receiver to match up with the other wide receivers, so they won't have to, you know, when they double team him, they got somebody to play off. And that really hurt Green Bay, and then it hurt that running game because they can stop the running game with eight and 9 men block because they had a double team on that wide receiver. No, the other wide receivers for Green Bay wasn't catching the ball, and the tight ends wasn't doing anything. So I didn't think Jones really hurt them that bad. I think it was because 8 man was in the box and that defense crushed on them in that NFC Championship game. So I think he's in a very good company with Green Bay.
Interesting. We just saw that come across the screen. Ryan Fitzpatrick is a Saint. Is that an official signing, or is that just a rumor right now? So let's verify that before we say that's true. Andrew, what do you think about Aaron Jones staying with Green Bay? You know, Green Bay has holes obviously in other parts of their offense. So do you think they just said, you know what, we need to solidify the backfield for Aaron Rodgers?
I think they did a very smart thing in bringing him back, and they got him for pennies on the dollar when you compare him to other running backs in his range. I mean, NFL.com has him ranked in the top 10 at number 10. If you compare him to number 1, who they have as Christian McCaffrey, their stats are not that far apart, with the exception of receptions. The yards, McCaffrey had him at about 300, but Aaron Jones did have more rushing touchdowns. But if you look at what was paid, Aaron Jones was $13 million guaranteed. McCaffrey was $36 million guaranteed. What Ray brought up definitely comes with youth, and will need some maturity to showcase his abilities in the playoffs and not just the regular season. But they got themselves a top 10 running back. They spent less money than Tennessee did for Derrick Henry. And when you consider the alternatives, I think that they made a very wise decision.
Interesting. We're going to go to you, Felix. You being an Eagles fan, they've kind of had a running back by committee. He would have looked good in an Eagles jersey, but he decided to stay in Green Bay. So what do you think?
So, I mean, the Eagles are a different story. The Eagles are still paying Carson Wentz, so we can't even talk about Aaron Jones. I think it's a huge mistake. You know, running backs really don't last after they get paid anymore. I think Green Bay made a huge mistake last year by drafting Love, the quarterback, instead of getting Aaron more help. They did draft another running back last year, I believe A.J. Dillon or something like that. And he was good. He was okay in college, but never really showed up. But I think they kept him for Aaron Rodgers. I think they need another receiver, and they need help on D. That's where they got beat at in the playoffs. Right. They need the cornerbacks can't cover anybody. So I think it was a waste of money for them. Aaron Rodgers will put up the stats. The receivers will catch the ball. That offense is unstoppable with Aaron. But that being said, he needs help. There's no way you can justify paying a running back like that, and then he's going to get hurt next year. Mark my words. I don't like saying that, but after somebody gets paid like that, they get hurt, and then Green Bay is going to go like, uh-oh. So I think it wasn't a wise choice.
Wow. All right. No, that's a definitely good take. I like that. All right. One more football story I want to talk about. The Houston Texans back in the news again.
He froze.
Hello.
I think he froze. So Mark, you starting to get on the question about Mark Ingram signing with reworking Brady Cook, and the Texans are these lawyers to keep Deshaun Watson. We'll start with Felix.
So the Texans are a dumpster fire. They could keep Watson, let him sit out. I mean, I would agree with him sitting out, but the Texans just have to trade everyone away, pick up picks, and start all over again. O'Brien messed that whole team up. Bringing new people in now will not solve the issue. They just traded their middle linebacker, McKinney, to the Dolphins for another linebacker. That's how bad it's getting. So whenever you ever heard of a linebacker for linebacker trade. So, I would honestly just trade everyone, get picks, and start all over because they're not going to win anything for 4 to 5 years.
They have an opportunity right now. The Jets are willing to give them their number 2 pick. From everything that I read, they have an opportunity to start over right now. With that number 2 pick, the Jets get what they want. Both teams can start over. At this point, it's probably the best option for Houston.
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, Houston, they got rid of Will Fuller walked away. Will Fuller the 5th walked away. So I mean, they redid Brandon Cook's contract to try to get some salary cap room. They're trying to lure Deshaun Watson. I don't think so. Deshaun Watson, to me, he stand by his word. He's going to be the man. He's either going to sit out or he's just going to sit there and be a waste and just keep running getting his money. I mean, that's just the way Deshaun Watson works. Deshaun Watson wasn't happy there, and the reason he wasn't happy with it is not because of his teammates. It was because of the front office. The front office promised him to be, in the mix of all the processing of the hirings and the firings and stuff like that. And he got blindsided when Bill O'Brien got fired. He wasn't notified, letting him know that he's going to be looking for a new coach on the outside. He wasn't in the hiring process of the new head coach. So he put that's the reason he signed a big contract in the first place, because they told him that he was going to be a big say-so in the process of hiring and firing and trying to get teammates that he wanted to play with there. And they blindsided him by not letting him be in negotiations. So Deshaun Watson is going to take his ball and he's going to go home with it. Either they're going to trade him or they're going to let him go. And the key thing is, I think the Jets should go ahead and make that trade. And, give him that second-round pick, second pick of the first round. Second. And then let both teams start over. That's just going to be a simple play, because I'm going to tell you what, if Deshaun Watson comes back and he does play, he's going to be a cancer in that locker room because he's not going to be happy.
Absolutely. And listen, his frustration started last year. We talked about this last week when Hopkins got traded. Yeah. They had a great thing going between the two of them, and his number 1 target got traded, and they didn't even bring back a receiver for him. They brought in a running back, and David Johnson's best days, we talked about this last week also, were left behind in Arizona. So the writing was on the wall starting last year.
And I mean, if you look at Ingram, I mean, he had a down year. I mean, he only had 200 some yards rushing in 9 games for the Baltimore Ravens, and he didn't even play in the playoffs for the Baltimore. So I mean, what kind of good running back? I mean, he had one good year in New Orleans. He had a so-so years in Baltimore. And now he's coming here and he's going to be a so-so back. He's not even a top 25 running back. I say he's probably in the top 50.
I agree, but the thing is with Ingram, he was playing with Lamar Jackson. So, I mean, it's hard to be a running back and then, play with Lamar, because he's going to take off almost every time anyway.
Sorry about that, guys. My computer died on me all of a sudden. I do apologize. All right. Did everyone get to talk about Houston?
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Hold down the fort. All right. Let's move on to the NBA here. Big story out of the NBA. LaMarcus Aldridge said he wants out of San Antonio, and he's basically riding the bench. He hasn't seen the floor since then. Obviously, he's not getting along with Pop anymore. Andrew, you're a huge NBA guy. I'm going to start with you. Where is LaMarcus Aldridge as far as players? Does he have game left? And what's his? Where's he going to fit in? What's he going to do?
He definitely has game left. He's just not being used to the best of his abilities. He's just not fitting in with the direction that Pop is trying to go with San Antonio right now. I think from what it looks like, he's trying to hand the team over to the younger guys between Keldon Johnson and Lonnie Walker. LaMarcus Aldridge can still be one of the game's top big men, but let's go back to the way that Pop coaches. Pop started this whole thing about resting guys and not playing them during the regular season.
Right.
Taking away his touches, taking away his minutes. That also takes away from a player's mental capacity. It makes them puts them on the bench, makes them feel unwanted, unused. Guys, it takes away their motivation. These guys want to play. I think Aldridge started to check out as well.
Right. No, definitely. I'm sorry.
Fit. No, I was just going to say it's not the right fit, but he could definitely be a huge impact somewhere else. He still has it. I mean, look what he's not the same player that he was in Portland, but he hasn't lost it all.
No, definitely. I mean, to have a decent big man in this league is still, you still need a good big man no matter what. Even if the game is more of an outside game, you still need a guy to grab rebounds, post up. It still can play from the inside. Felix, LaMarcus Aldridge. I mean, would he be a good fit, like on the Sixers or something like that? Is there? Where I mean, with Embiid hurt, an Aldridge would definitely be someone the Sixers would look at. So, what do you think?
So Embiid's only out for 2 weeks. It's a bone bruise. So Howard's going to step in and play center for now. But Aldridge could also fit in playing power forward. I mean, we need him actually, just in case Embiid does go down again. But with the Spurs, I think that Pop was trying to. You notice that the team's starting to shoot more. When Golden State was winning, Pop tried to switch the team up to shooters instead of playing, with the big guys when he had Duncan and Robinson and all those guys. So, and now that the Golden State Warriors aren't winning shooting and he can't win, I think the game passed him. He just has to let it go and pass the torch to someone else. But again, with Aldridge, he could fit in on the Sixers. He could fit in on Boston, really. Boston needs him bad. Maybe even the Heat could use him to help Bam. So
there's been talk about that. There's been rumors about him coming down here to Miami. So yeah, that would be interesting. Ray, do you think that the game has passed by Popovich and he's kind of run his time out here, or can he still relate to these newer players?
I think he can relate to newest players, but I mean he's getting up in age. He's age 72 years old. You got players in the younger generation is not really molded to fit his scheme of basketball. I mean, his scheme of more basketball is like two big men, and then you have your little shooting forward and your two shooting guard and your point guard who can penetrate in and shoot these little floaters like Parker could. But I mean, that game has passed you by now because I think he can still motivate people, but the only problem is can the players relate to Popovich? And the style, his relate. I mean, he can off the court, he can relate to them pretty good because you see him in all the political arenas with the players, agreeing with the players and stuff like that. I mean, players still want to play for him, but the only problem we have in here is you have a LaMarcus Aldridge who's a back to the goal player, and now he's unfilled his team with a bunch of shooters. So now you got no guard who can give him the ball in the post, to work his magic. And I mean, you got to understand, Aldridge is 35 years old, but he's still a 6'11" guy. He's added a 3-point range to his repertoire, but he's not a good 3-point shooter, but he can get you some out there. But like I said, teams that really can benefit from Aldridge, I think New York Knicks could, and I think I think Portland could too. I think he can go back to Portland and finish his career out in Portland.
Interesting. All right, so we got one vote for the Sixers. We got Portland, the Knicks. Andrew, where do you think Aldridge is going to end up? The trade deadline is the 25th. So where's he going to end up? What do you think?
I think the Lakers would be a great fit for him, especially with Davis's lingering injuries. He could take right over for Davis when down, and he can back him up. They could play together, form a little twin tower action going on over there. I just think he's always played on the West Coast. He knows the other lineups. He knows the other big men in the West Coast. The Lakers tend to go for those veteran bring in towards the playoffs. I think he would be a great fit for the Lakers.
Interesting. I'd like to see him come to the East though, because and honestly, you know, I think either Miami or Philadelphia would be a good fit for him, because when Brooklyn picked up Blake Griffin, even though Griffin's not playing, you know, Griffin's probably going to start, so they're going to have 3+ Griffin. So if the Sixers can get him or the Heat can get him, they'll give him that third or fourth body that they need to match up with Brooklyn. Whether they're going to beat Brooklyn, that's for another show. That's for another discussion to talk about. Cool. All right, let's move on to the Diamond. A little baseball talk here. There's a huge youth movement in baseball. A lot of players, really blossoming in their early 20s. There's a lot of players under 25. I just picked out a couple I want to talk about. Fernando Tatis, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Juan Soto, Ronald Acuna Jr., Gleyber Torres, all 5 players under 25 who are just killing it in their major leagues. So, out of all these guys, Felix, who do you see really turning into that perennial all-star, Hall of Famer, because the game is changing, but the players are changing with the game. So out of all those guys, who do you see really blossoming forward out of all the guys under 25?
So my vote might be a little skewed, but it's because I see him so much and he kills us so much. Oh my God. Acuna's a Philly killer. Oh my God. He's unstoppable. Even though the other guys you named are awesome, Soto, Tatis, they're all good. But this guy is something else, man. Oh my God. Every time he goes up to bat, I'm like, all right, just walk him, give him the base, pull the old Deion Sanders thing, just put him on the base, and I'll give him the single, whatever. It's fine. But being a Phillies fan, I hate seeing him that often.
It's like the way I felt as a Met fan when Chipper Jones would come to the bat. Same kind of thing.
Yeah,
he used to kill us. All right, Andrew, out of these 5 guys, who do you think is going to be the perennial all-star Hall of Famer? Who's really going to put up the numbers?
I mean, right now, you got to look at Soto as being the guy. He already has the World Series ring under his belt.
Right.
What he did, we'll rewind 2 years ago. What he did against Houston and that whole playoff run was just unbelievable, especially by someone at that point. I believe he even 21 at that point when he was doing that.
Not even, yeah. He was young, yeah.
I believe he was still 20. So right now, you got to put him at the top, but the entire world's focused on Tatis, especially after that contract that he just got. He's also a shortstop. The shortstops tend to gravitate and get more eyes on them, and all eyes are on him right now. But it's an interesting period that we are in with these 3. It's the first time we've seen a big 3 since about 9 years ago when it was Harper, Machado. Who's the third? I can't think. It's slipping my mind right now. All 3 of them together.
I can't think of it, but yeah, I understand what you're talking about. Yeah, definitely.
And then there's an interesting stat that when I was doing my research, the 3 of them did something for the first time since 1909, 111 years ago. And I'm going to read this so that I don't screw it up because it's a phenomenal stat. But the first time in 111 years that 3 players, Tatis, Acuna, and Soto, who each qualified for the batting average title and had an on-base slugging percentage above 150. Last time that happened was in 1909. It was Ty Cobb, Eddie Collins, and Tris Speaker.
Wow.
So we are living in an incredible time right now, and we are witnessing history. So
all right.
Whoever you want to give that to, you can't lose that debate because all 3 are phenomenal.
No, definitely. Yeah, man. You and Ray bringing the stat of the day today. Wow, there you go. All All right, Ray, who are you picking out of these five guys?
Well, I know everybody is going to take Soto and Tatis. So, and Felix took my guy Acuna because I'm a Braves fan. I've been watching him ever since he came in. So, I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take it a little bit further with him. When I sat down to ask these questions, I know Soto and Tatis and Guerrero can all do the same thing. But the questions I asked myself was, if the Atlanta Braves need a home run, Agudo could give it to him. If Braves needs a defensive stop, he can give it to him. And, all these, and if he needs an extra base steal and all that, he could do that too. But, what makes Agudo so good is, the sky is the limit for him. But he's also going to fall in the shoes of Chipper Jones. And I think he can be up there with Chipper Jones at the end of his career. He's going to be one of those Braves that, a certain team's going to hate, like the Phillies. Like New York hated Chipper. Phillies going to hate Agudo because that's who he, does the most damage to. So we understand what the Phillies fans, feel like and stuff like that, because Piazza did it to the Braves a bunch of times. Everybody's going to have that different team that they're going to be good against. But Agudo, man, if you look at his career stats, he had 1,219 batting attempts, 342 hits, 81 home runs with 2.81 batting average. He has a 251 run. He scored 251 times with an 194 RBIs and 61 stolen bases. So, I mean, his slugging percentage is up there too, is .538. His OPS is .909. His OPS plus is 133. And that's all dealing with the different dimension of ballparks. And his OBP is 3.71. So, I mean, he's just going to get better and better. And at the end of the day, you're going to say that you've seen a true Hall of Famer from the beginning to the end of his career. So,
no, very, very, very strong take there. And it's interesting, this youth movement of players. Especially there's been a youth movement of great Latin American players. Coming into the league. Starting when they're. I mean, Soto, as Andrew just said, Soto was 20. He's 22 now. I mean, Soto's 22, and he's tearing up the league. It's crazy. I'm going to take a fly here. I'm going to go with Vlad Guerrero Jr. I don't know. Something about, I loved watching his father play. His father was a phenomenal ball player, had a phenomenal arm, phenomenal bat. And I see a lot of his dad in him when he plays. So, I'm going to go with Vlad Jr. I think Vlad's going to have those numbers in that Toronto lineup. Now that they've got Springer, as we talked about last week, he's got a safety cushion in that lineup. So I think he's really going to explode. I mean, I think, hell, all these guys might end up, having Hall of Fame numbers. But, I'm really going to watch Guerrero this year and see what he brings to the table. So, baseball should be good, man. These young players, watching them play. Next week we'll probably talk about some young pitchers, but I want to talk about the batters today and see where we're going with that.
Well, there's one name that you have not brought up.
Who did I forget?
Pete Alonso.
Oh, yes. I forgot Alonso.
You cannot forget about the polar bear.
No, we cannot forget about the polar bear. That is true. I forgot about my boy Pete. Yeah, no, that is true. Yeah, he's gonna bring it. He had that great year 2 years ago. I mean, last year it was a wash for everybody.
I thought you did that on purpose.
No. I forgot. Yeah, I should put my hat off you because I forgot. You're absolutely right. All right, let's move back to football. Let's talk about the Jets. Jets. The Sam Darnold rumors are flying. What are they going to do? Are they going to trade the pick? Are they going to trade Darnold? Should they fold the franchise? What should the Jets do? Andrew, you're a Jet fan. I'm going to go with you first, man. And, go ahead. Bring it on the Jets.
Let's start with folding the franchise. If that's not an option, let's go down with moving on from Darnold. It's a shame what that organization has done to him, as well as anyone else that they've drafted over the past 2 decades. But it just has not worked out. And we mentioned a little earlier, they have an opportunity to go and get a superstar with that pick. And the Texans are looking for that top 2 to 5 pick. Just make the deal. It works for both sides. Bring in that superstar that the Jets need desperately. They don't have anyone that the New York Post, the Daily News, Newsday, New York Times that wants to put on the back page. There's no one on the Jets worth mentioning right now at all. They need some name to come with that organization to make a splash. They need to get fans back in the seats. If there will be fans in the seats this year. They're just an embarrassment of an organization, but they have an opportunity to correct it. They have an exciting new coaching staff, and they make the right moves. They can make a splash, but if they don't, they're going to end up right back to where they were this past season and the year before that and the year before that, and it's just repeat itself.
Well, this just came across according to ESPN. Corey Davis, wide receiver out of Tennessee, signed a 3-year deal with the Jets. So there's your superstar now, Corey Davis.
Say the money. Oh my God!
All right, Felix, what's going to happen with Sam Darnold and the Jets?
So I mean, back when they drafted him, I was thinking why they would draft him. Like they had Mark Sanchez out of USC, couldn't do nothing. And they're living off that playoff run that they had back then. Mm-hmm. And now they draft Sam Darnold out of USC. Listen, no good quarterbacks come out of USC. All right. So I don't know what they're thinking. But I don't think the Texans will make that deal because the Texans require 2 or 3 first-round picks for Watson. So I don't think that's going to happen. Them having a defensive coach, I think they're honestly going to move back and see what they could get and work on the defense. Now, the only player I could think of on that team is either Frank Gore or Mosley, the middle linebacker that they got from the Ravens last year. And that's bad. That's it. And so they got to rebuild from the defense around and just trade Darnold, see what they could get for him, and keep it moving. But that Corey Davis deal, 3 years, $37.5 million, $27 million guaranteed. Corey Davis. Exactly. That's what they have to do to get players.
Exactly. Well, Ray, so and Felix just brought up an interesting point. So do you trade the pick, trade down, build around Darnold? Do you trade Darnold in the pick? What are the Jets GM do? I mean, they've got Robert Saleh, brand new coach, defensive coach, very highly touted in the offseason. But obviously, is he going to build an offense around Darnold, or is he going to build a defense and then just let the defense win champion? As they say, defense wins championships. What do you think?
I think New York Jets are probably going to try to keep that number 2 pick. If they do keep the number 2 pick, this is some future draft that could be. And the research, when I did this research on Sam Darnold, I came across this big blockbuster trade that was proposed out here. And it's be very surprising. It's not good for the Jets, but it will be good for the Denver Broncos. And I'm going to tell you why. The Seattle they want to go and get a quarterback to replace Wilson. So they're going to send the Jet. They're going to do a four-way team deal between the Seahawks, Denver Broncos, and the Jets and the Bears.
Ooh.
The Seahawks will get quarterback Sam Darnold from the Jets, along with the edge pass rusher Bradley Chubb and the number 9 overall pick in 2021-22, first-round pick from the Denver Broncos. The Broncos will receive quarterback Russell Wilson, 2022 third-round pick from the Seattle Seahawks, and a 2022 fourth-round pick from the Bears. The Jets will, in this whole deal, the Jets will get a wide receiver, Tim Patrick, and a 2023 fourth-round pick and a conditional from the Seattle Seahawks. The Bears will get Denver's quarterback, Drew Lock, from the Denver Broncos, and that's the blockbuster deal that was proposed out there to the Jets at one time.
That's a terrible deal.
Yeah,
that's a terrible deal.
I mean, but that deal was based off keeping that did based off was just keeping the number 2 pick.
Right.
So that that all could change at at a ram of the moment. But that's something that caught my eye. I just want to put out there.
So if they keep the pick, let's say they don't make a move and they keep the pick, who should they take?
Well, some said to go get the wide receiver from Alabama that played in the national championship game. Jamar Cason, the other wide receiver from LSU. That were some of the names thrown out there. Then if you look at the 23rd pick for from the Seattle Seahawks, they were looking at the defensive end Kitty Pay out of Michigan. Then they let the 34th pick. The Jets would have picked they progressed in Aaron Robinson, the cornerback from UCF, University of Central California. Then at the 66th pick for the Jets, they're looking at Wyatt Davis, the guard out of Ohio State. And the 87th pick, they're looking at a running back, Michael Carter from the University of North Carolina. So if they would have kept this pick, they would add some young talent, offensive Jamar Case, Wyatt Davis, and Michael Carter for Sam Donald, out of all those picks and stuff. So
here's my point of view though with that. Everyone you just named, they could trade down for. They don't need to take at the number 2.
Right. But
I like Chase. I think Chase would fit in well, except now they just brought in a receiver unless they want to put one on each side.
For Corey Davis, I seen Corey Davis play because he played in the AFC South with the Tennessee Titans. Corey Davis is more of a drop pass. You can throw the ball right to his numbers. He will drop it wide open. I seen him do it here in Jacksonville. At TIA Bank, the guy ran across the middle wide open. The guy was about 15. The corner was about 15 yards away from him. He catches the ball and drops it when he turned upfield. He's not a good wide receiver. So, I mean, to me, I think that was just a waste of money for him. Unless he's going to change the center, he's going to change his hands. I don't know.
It's typical Jets. We were talking last week. We were trying to figure out who the Jets' number 1 receiver was. It took us a couple minutes just to figure it out, and it was Crowder. They have so many problems not to go and bring in him for 37. What did you say, Felix? 37 million?
37 and a half.
27
guaranteed.
It's just typical New York Jets fashion, and there's not much else more to say as far as their GMing goes. It's embarrassing.
He was the 7th overall pick a couple years ago, so like 4 years ago, I believe. So that he's probably still living off of that, Corey Davis. But to answer Ray's question real quick, if the Jets don't trade down, I don't know how you don't go after the offensive lineman from Oregon. I don't know how you could go that. What's the point of getting a receiver if Darnold can't even throw the ball? I mean, I can't fathom that.
And to answer your question about that, the guy from Oregon is not even on the New York Jets draft board. Everywhere I look for New York Jets draft board, his name has not shown up on their list at all. The 2 offensive linemen that showed up were both two offensive linemen from Ohio State. The only 2 he had on their board for drafting.
Typical Jets.
I was looking at a mock draft a little earlier. Without them getting rid of the pick and staying at number 2, and whatever they do with Darnold, they still had them taking Wilson, taking the quarterback at number 2.
But see, on top of that, I looked at that too. They're not going to trade Donaldson until they go to the pro days for Justin Fields and the pro day for Wilson. And then if they don't like what they see, then they might decide to keep, Sam Donald. So that's your problem right there. You're going to hold on to this guy here until you go to the pro day. Then free agents is going to be already halfway kicked off, already in full play. And they're not going to be able to get a free agent quarterback, or some of the quarterbacks will be gone that they can try to use. But then they're going to try to have somebody go up for, draft for that. And they're going to be late. I mean, teams are not going to go halfway through the free agency trying to wait for your quarterback if they're going to be able to trade either. So you can't play it 2 ways here. You can't play to see how they're going to look at a pro day, and try to get rid of him. You got to make that decision, get rid of him now, and then leave that number 2 pick at the disposal of these 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah, you could also argue, though, the Jets keep drafting these young quarterbacks. Felix, there was a name in between Sanchez and Darnold as well. There's Geno Smith that they messed up with.
Yeah.
And before Sanchez, I believe was it Clemens, or was there another one between Clemens and Sanchez? They keep drafting these quarterbacks.
It was Clemens. Clemens was the backup to Sanchez.
Right. So it was Clemens, then it was Sanchez, then it was Smith, then Darnold. How many quarterbacks can a team go through, starting quarterbacks in a decade?
But Geno Smith fell to them. So, I mean, he fell to them in the 2nd round. It's not like they went after him.
But they didn't have to give him the clipboard. They could have given him the clipboard. They didn't have to put him in the starter so quick. They rushed him along like they rushed Darnold along. Darnold didn't need to start right off the bat.
I agree.
Yeah, I think the Jets are the same way. I think the Jaguars are the same way as the Jets. Look at all the quarterbacks that we gone through. You know,
Yeah, Minshew was the savior, not just for Jacksonville, but for the
Yeah.
NFL for about 2 weeks.
yeah.
I heard something, if I could say it real quick. I heard something real interesting on the radio today as I was driving to work. They're saying that the Jacksonville Jaguars' new coach, Urban Meyer, is trying to talk them into taking Justin Fields and trading the first overall pick to the Jets
That would be something.
for them to get Trevor Lawrence because he wants Fields. But again, they're not going to give it up just one for one.
No.
Of course
It's going to
not.
be a huge package deal, which, hey, who knows what they negotiated because he's a brand new coach. The owner probably said, hey, listen, you do whatever you have to do. And, that's what happened.
I just hope they don't do the bonehead deal with that 1 year the Jaguars picked a punter in the 3rd round.
Oh, that was ridiculous. All I know is if Jacksonville did that deal, man, all the season tickets holders will jump off the bridge, and Ray knows the bridge I'm talking about in Jacksonville.
Yeah, the Danes Point Bridge. But anyway, talk to that. Where they selling all these season tickets. We almost sold out all our season tickets for this coming up season because of the anticipation of picking Trevor Lawrence. If they go around and do that, you're going to see all these ticket holders trying to put their tickets up for sale.
Oh yeah, I don't think the owner won't do that.
Do you have a Gardner Minshew jersey?
No, I don't.
You might be one of the few because it was only about a year ago that he was leading the NFL in jersey sales.
Yeah, see, for me, only last jersey I got was a Jalen Ramsey jersey. And the only way I got that because it was free from the Jaguars. when I got my season tickets.
You make me go in my closet. I got a Mark Brunell in the closet.
There you go. All right.
I got a Drew. I got
Maurice Jones-Drew.
Yeah, Maurice Jones-Drew jersey in the closet.
Nice. Well, the final word for me is I say the Jets fold the franchise, man. No, they're just done, And if you look, Sam Darnold was cursed the minute he put on that Jets jersey. Why? Because he's wearing number 14. That was Richard Todd's old number, and Richard Todd was terrible. If you remember
wasn't Darnold's first play, the first line of scrimmage, an interception against Detroit?
Yes, it was.
There you go.
There you go. All right. Let's move on from this. Okay. Trios. There's been a big thing about the big three in the NBA, but there's been, big threes in football. There's a big three. The Cowboys had a big three in the 90s, a lot of baseball teams, basketball teams, football teams, hockey teams, the Oilers of the 70s, the Islanders of the 80s. So let's talk about, the best, big three, no matter what sport it was, Andrew, I'll start with you. What's your favorite big three?
For me, it's not even a close second between Jordan, Pippen, and Rodman. I mean, they're just on the court and off the court. They were larger than life. Mm-hmm. They did so much for the game, so much for the city of Chicago. They probably made the NBA and the international sport that it is today. They started the whole big three term for the NBA, and they were just a perfect fit. I mean, it was Batman, Superman, and Rodman.
Right.
And to me, there's no close second as far as the big three goes.
Well, what about when they had Horace Grant beforehand, the three with Horace Grant? I mean, obviously Rodman's was an amazing rebounder.
Rodman was on another planet. Let's start with that. Rodman was on another planet. So, Jordan, they all took care of business on the court, but Rodman brought, the entertainment off the court that just made that team so entertaining and worth watching, no matter what fan of what team you were. They just. If you weren't a Jordan fan, you were a Pippen fan. If you weren't a Pippen fan, you're a Rodman fan. Even as a Knicks fan, my favorite player growing up was Rodman. As a Knicks fan.
There you go. All right, Ray. What about you? What's your favorite big three of all time in any sport?
Well, he took my main one, so I'm gonna throw a little thing out here. Carl Banks, Lawrence Taylor, and Harry Carson for the New York Giants. Giants.
It's just gotta get him to.
Yeah, those guys were incredible, man. And I actually, I don't know. I met Lawrence Taylor once. I don't know if any of you guys ever did. I met him once, and And you met him too, Cole. Yeah, his hands were just like mitts, like baseball mitts, and he was just, I mean, huge in person. Let alone, I can only imagine how he was and how he played on the field. You know,
See, my story.
Before or after the rape charge?
Who knows? I want to hear your story, Rick. Go ahead.
My story with Lawrence Taylor is I met him at the University of North Carolina when he played for the University of North Carolina.
Oh,
Before he even got into the NFL, before he became that mega superstar, Lawrence Taylor is a guy that at the University of North Carolina. I was a young kid. I was 8 years old at the time when he played.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad took me up to him. Me and my dad was the security guard at University of North Carolina. So he got to meet Lawrence Taylor. He got to, football. And so I got to go inside the locker room and met Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence Taylor was the only guy in that locker room that would sit down for about an hour and a half and tell me how he got his, physical stardom from Pop Warner all the way up to high school and what has taught him the value lessons on the way. But he didn't listen to that value lessons when he got into the NFL. We got on drugs and stuff like that. But I did meet him about 3 years ago, and he talking about how he got on drugs and he's trying to get off drugs. He's trying to get out of that bad emblem and stuff like that, but he still can't do it. So, I mean, Lawrence Taylor is a great guy. He'll sit there and talk to you. He didn't care, how big a superstar he was, but he'll always make time for his fans.
You guys remember the scene in The Waterboy when Lawrence Taylor is talking to a group of kids?
Yeah, and the girl steal the car.
Yeah, and then Lawrence Taylor goes to the kids, "Don't do drugs."
Yeah,
that was super, and that's kind of cool, Ray. That you got, you knew Michael Jordan when he was Mike Jordan. You knew Taylor before he blew up. Growing up in what are they, Chapel Hill? All those. That's really cool that you were able to meet all those guys. What about your Felix? Try that again. What about you, Felix? Who's your big three?
I'm a little. I'm gonna go a different route, and that's just because I'm a big fan of local guys going to the pros. I'm gonna go with the old Houston Oilers. We're gonna go Aaron McNair, Eddie George, and Frank Wycheck. Frank Wycheck went to Archbishop Ryan High School, right down the street from Franklin Mills Mall in Philadelphia. Eddie George, the same thing. He went to Father Judge right up the street in Philly. Growing up in Philly, you never imagine guys going to the school that right down the street, blowing up, making millions of dollars, playing every Sunday. And even though I bleed green, I always rooted for those guys. And it broke my heart when they lost in the Super Bowl to the Rams. Oh man. But yeah, I'm just gonna go with that.
That's very cool. And it's funny. I found an interesting picture today. I'm just trying to find it on my phone. I don't see it, but they show like all the big threes in the NBA. Growing up for me, I was I was a Knicks fan, but the Knicks weren't very good. So everyone was watching the Lakers and the Celtics and the Lakers. Bird, Parrish, McHale, man, those three guys. Whew, they were tremendous to me. You can put them right along. You can put them right alongside Magic, Kareem, and Worthy, or Michael Cooper, or whoever you want to put in that third slot. Worthy. But to me, watching those three guys play, they played great physical basketball, great fundamental basketball. The inside out game that they had. The pass and cut with McHale driving down the lane, Bird just over the shoulder, boom to McHale. Or posting up with Parrish. And then having DJ at the point. It was just. Those Celtics teams of the 80s, man, those three guys for me were just tremendous to watch. I love watching those guys. And I'm going to go with a different three. I'm going to go with hockey, and I'm going to go with the 93 Rangers, the Messier, Graves, and Brian Leach with Mike Richter in goal.
I hated Leach.
Well, you were a Flyers fan, so yeah, of course. But that one amazing season for me, it was just those three guys, man. Brian Leach was my guy growing up playing hockey, so those trios, and it's amazing how the word trio or three, has really become so synonymous in sports. It seems like, two just isn't enough anymore. You need at least three, and it's incredible how that's working,
The Nets think they need four right now.
Yeah, well, because Durant can't stay healthy. And
what's interesting now with the big three or big fours today versus the big threes 10, 20, 30 years ago? back then they were each brought in and built around a different role. You had your scorer, you had your enforcer slash bruiser, you had your defender, your rebounder. They were all, Jordan was their offensive star. Pippen was their defensive star. Rodman was their rebounder as well as their enforcer. Even with the Knicks, you look at Ewing, Oakley, and Starks. They were built the same way. The Indiana Pacers built the same way with Miller and the Davis and Newman Smith, the Davis brothers and Smith. You go back to your Celtics. You go back to the Lakers. All those guys, they all had a role which just gelled. Now everyone is a scorer on these teams. I mean, Harden, Kyrie, and Durant, they're all scorers. But yes, I know Harden has been dishing the ball phenomenally since he's joined the team, but they're all scorers. They're not built the same way.
Oh, definitely. It's just amazing how the game has changed, but yet the three thing is still held true from like the late 70s, 80s, 90s. It's always kind of stood the test of time here.
Where would you put the Heatles?
The Heatles? Well, I'm a LeBron hater. I know Ray's a LeBron hater. Where's Freddie on this, right? Yeah. Yeah, I mean the Heatles are up there, but I mean there's so many. To me, the three you said, the Bulls, the Celtics, the Lakers, the 90s the Pistons with Thomas, Dumars, and Lambeer,
Yeah.
or John Sally was on that team. Edwards is on that team.
Rodman was on that team.
Rodman was on that team too. Yeah. That is correct. The 82 Sixers, with Irving, Tony, and Maurice Cheeks, with Bobby Jones coming off the bench, there's I mean they're definitely, they're not top 10 for me. I mean, as far as three big threes in the NBA, that's for sure. I can't see them doing that.
I think they were a disappointment. If you want my opinion.
Oh yeah. But that's the way that whole thing went down was just crazy, But LeBron is another topic for another show for sure. Let's move on. I want to talk jerseys. Before we go on, Andrew, what's the jersey of the night? What are you wearing tonight?
This is a Darius Miles game-worn jersey from the 2001-2002 season with the 9/11 memorial patch.
Oh, cool.
And then behind me, I got my 90s Knicks game-worn set.
What number? I can't see the numbers. They're really kind of small. What numbers?
So we got, back then we got Ewing, Oakley, Mason, and Charles Smith.
Yes, all right. And we're gonna have you talk about Patrick Ewing, what happened a little later. So we definitely want to hear your opinion on that. That was crazy what happened with that. All right. The NFL uniform changes always go through. There's classic, there's newer uniforms. Every team's always changing their uniforms, this and that, changing the sleeve, changing the color a little bit. Ray, what's your favorite NFL uniform of all time? It could be a newer one, could be an older one. What uniform? When that uniform came on the field, you're like, even though it's not my team, but I want to watch them just for the uniforms.
For me, easy. The Houston Oilers. I love the Houston Oilers outfit. I mean, I was big in for all rigs when I was growing up in Texas. Everything I did in high school, and I wrote about Texas oil rigs. So the oil rig thing on the helmet was cool. The light blue is my favorite color. That light blue, is there. It's just that uniform just popped when it came out. I mean, it's old school time, style, but it had that intimidation and that look on it. So that was my all-time favorite.
Exactly. My biggest picture of that is Earl Campbell running down the sidelines in that powder blue jersey with that oil thing on the helmet, man. He was unstoppable. All right, we're gonna get to you, Andrew, last with the jersey. I want to hear from Felix. What about you with jerseys? Where do you stand?
Oh man, the Kelly Green Eagle jerseys reminds me of Randall Cunningham back in the day. Oh, killing it, and then breaking his leg. Oh man, it just brings back so many memories. They were talking about bringing it back, but I guess it ain't the right time for it. They were gonna bring it back when Chip Kelly was the head coach. Thank God they didn't, because he would have ruined them. But I wish it would have brought it back the Super Bowl year. But yeah, that's definitely my favorite jersey, the Kelly Green Eagles jersey. It just reminds me of the good old days with Randall.
And those are the ones that the Eagles wore after Jaworski, right? It was between Jaworski and the new ones, right? It was right in the middle. You know, talking about Randall, we're talking about Lawrence Taylor. You know, I still remember that one play where Taylor had him and Randall just jumped right out of his leg, jumped right. You know, I was like, I remember that play to this day so clearly, and just being like, you know, I can't say it, but you know what I mean? Just like, come on, you know, that was crazy. All right, Andrew, you are the jersey master. I've seen, you know, all the jerseys you have in your closet. You're a collector. You've got jerseys framed, jerseys signed. As far as NFL jerseys, you know, what's your favorite?
Okay, so my personal favorite that I would just wear, I think the Carolina Panthers, just classic black and the Carolina blue as far as personal favorite, just to wear my favorite color scheme. I think the coolest jersey today is the Cincinnati Bengals white color rush uniforms. Those are just cool, like very cool, where they replace the black and orange with the black and white Bengal stripes with a hint of orange. But as far as just all time, just that gives the wow factor when they wear them twice a year now. The classic Pittsburgh Steelers Bumblebee uniforms.
Okay.
Those are just on another level. Just everything about them just makes your eyes pop out of your head. It makes you just say, wow. Like whether you love them or you hate them, I don't even love them. They're just on something else. I mean, with the numbers in the boxes, with the black and yellow stripes, I don't know if they're a prison uniform or what's going on there, but those are just cool. Those are just, and it's what's missing from every league right now is a jersey that makes a statement like that.
That's funny. That's really, really funny, you know. And I think one of the interesting things about the Steeler uniform in general is that the decal is only on one side of the helmet and not on both.
And I like the traditional aspect of that. I wish there were more teams that did that. You know, and there's some teams that do have some tradition, you know, with that. You know, the Cowboys are one that there's some tradition behind their uniforms. You can look at baseball. The Yankees haven't changed their uniforms since the early 1900s. The Boston Celtics have stayed with tradition since the 60s. There's something to be said about the teams that stick with tradition.
Oh yeah, definitely. For me, my favorite football jersey is I love the powder blue Chargers jerseys. I don't know why. I just those classic AFL. They wore those back in the AFL days, and when they bring those out, you know, I don't like the dark blue that they wear, but when they wear the light blue jerseys, you know, there's something about those. And I'm going to go on my hometown team as well, the Giants, but the old Giants jerseys from the 80s, and not the new ones, the old ones when the Giants won the 2 Super Bowls with the Giants word on the helmet, and it was like a lighter blue. It wasn't that dark blue that they have now. Yeah. It just really, you know, jumped out for me, even though they were terrible in the late 70s and giving the ball to your boy Herman Edwards Felix in 1979, you know, in the end zone. And then, you know, that type of thing. So, yeah, to me, the Chargers jerseys and the Giants jerseys are just two of my favorite football jerseys of all time. Love those things, you know. And, you know, I kind of liked, you know, when the Atlanta Falcons, when they had the red home jerseys, when I wasn't wearing the black, it was the red jersey when Michael Vick was playing for them. Those are kind of interesting. But for me, it's those other two.
So let me ask you a question. Which league do you think has the best uniforms? Do you think the NFL has the best uniforms, or do you think it's another league?
It's football. It's football.
You think football is
with the rush colors now and all that? I mean, baseball really doesn't do anything with uniforms like that, except for like Jackie Robinson Day and stuff like that. Basketball. Yeah,
I think basketball has become a bust with uniforms. I hate what they've done with.
Oh, there's too many. They're just teams have. I mean, they've got 4 or 5 different jerseys. It's like, you know,
it's terrible. It's all just to set. They change every year just as a marketing ploy and a money ploy, and I hate it. Exactly. And the uniforms too, I just hate across the league.
Oh, it's a money grab, definitely. I mean, you know,
you see the prices go up too.
Oh yeah,
every year they grow up.
Yeah, I don't like, you know, in the NFL, I don't like when some of these teams who have colors, when they do like the all black jersey and pants, you know, like the way Well, yeah, the color rush with when the Ravens wear all black, when the Eagles do it, a couple other teams have done it. I don't like that. The color rush thing, I like, the dark with the light pants, or the dark pants with the white, that way you can tell who's at home, who's away, I mean, I might sound like an old grandpa right there, but that's kind of what I like.
No, I get it.
Anyone colorblind?
Say that again?
Anyone colorblind?
No.
Right?
No.
Okay.
No.
Remember about 4 or 5 years ago, the first season of the color rush uniforms, it was week 2 where Buffalo and the Jets played.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they had a legitimate issue that colorblind people couldn't make out the teams on the field because it was all green for the Jets versus all red for the Bills.
Yep.
And it looked like a game that was in black and white.
That's crazy.
That looked like Christmas.
Yeah.
The Christmas colors. What game was that? I think that was the Bills wearing all red.
All red. The
Against
Jets.
maybe the Jets. Yeah.
Yeah, the Jets all green.
Yeah.
It made the league change things up.
I love
crazy.
football, but that was rough to watch.
Yeah. Although I do want to see Tampa bring back the creamsicle. Bring it back for a game. I want to see Tom Brady in the creamsicle jersey. Come on.
Those would be cool.
Tom Brady retired the helmet as the Buccaneers.
Ray's like, no. Why not? Why not, Ray? Come on. Why not?
Wait, can we do one more? What do you guys think is the worst jersey in the NFL?
The worst jersey in the NFL?
Yeah.
Well, I have to go with the Jaguar because it's just plain simple. I mean, the color is simple. It's just simple.
And you know what's funny, right? You're saying your hometown team has the worst jerseys, and I was going to say that the Jets have the worst jerseys. They look like a high school uniform.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, we're both saying our teams have the worst jerseys.
Yep. I guess we got the same problem too with quarterbacks. So
Yeah.
that's the same problem with the jerseys.
What about you guys? Y'all, what do you guys think of the worst jerseys in the NFL right now?
The worst.
Not of all time, right now.
I'm just gonna say, and this just comes to mind because I hate seeing it, is that neon green Seahawks uniform. I don't know. That's just, I'm looking at that like, what are you wearing, dude? Like, I can't. That's something that I can't just. Can't
that one is pretty bad. The one that the Lions always wear on Thanksgiving, they wear like the monotone colored one.
Yeah.
Oh, those are terrible. That. Those are terrible too.
I like the Saints alternates, the white with the gold numbers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, those are kind of cool.
I actually like the Saints black and gold.
Yeah, those are cool too.
And those are classic.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right, let's move on to our last segment. This is our last chance to bring it. We ran out of time last week, so I definitely want to get this in this week. All right. Before we do that, well, I guess we could keep this as the segment. Actually, Andrew, I'm going to have you go last. I want you to talk about Patrick Ewing last. So, Felix, this is your last chance to bring it. What's on your mind sports-wise? What haven't we talked about? What hot takes do you have for the week?
So I was going to save this for tomorrow night, but I got to say it now. The Mets dodged a huge bullet. As a Phillies fan, I wished upon this day when A-Rod and J-Lo would have bought the team. And then since they just broke up, they would be trading, releasing, hating each other, killing the Mets. Oh, my God. And that would be typical New York Mets, little brother of the Yankees type stuff. Oh man, I saw that. I'm like, why couldn't they just buy the team? Oh, but yeah, that's something that I obviously never happened, couldn't happen, but it almost did.
Right. And we didn't get to talk about it last Tuesday, but your Phillies family lost a former player last week, and Raul Cormier passed away. Yeah. So that was kind of sad to see that. Ray, now I don't know if your last take is going to be about the NCAA tournament. If it's not, I want to hear your Final Four, because we didn't really talk about college basketball tonight. But if it is, then go ahead.
Well, it's not. My final take with sports is interesting of going back with Andrew's team, the New York Jets, because I always thought that the Jaguars should have gone after him a year earlier. And Robert Slay at the San Francisco 49ers defensive coordinator. But I want to see how he's going to do as a head coach, because he has no head coach's experience. So that's why I'm gonna have my eye on the NFL season is the New York Jets and see how he organized that team. If he was the right fit, either way for the Jets, or he could have been the right fit for the Jaguars. But that's my take. When you want to know my Final Four,
Yeah.
my Final Four right now is Illinois, Gonzaga. I haven't really thought the last two, but I'm always gonna put my Carolina Tar Heels up there.
Right.
In Final Four. I know they probably won't make it, but that's going to be one of my Final Four teams.
Mm-hmm.
And then Gonzaga, which I have Gonzaga playing Illinois beating Gonzaga. I have Carolina losing to what's the other team I picked?
I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I now have my brackets in front of me, but yeah, I have North Carolina losing to one of the three Final Four teams I had, but I ain't got my brackets in front of me, so I can't know it offhand. But
you have Illinois winning the whole thing, huh?
I have Illinois winning everything.
All right, interesting. We'll talk about. Go ahead.
I just like their team. Their team. I seen them play Duke and how they can play off. 5 or 6. They play 7 deep. They don't get tired. They got a guy who can create his own shots, get inside, outside. They had that big center guy who can set the screen, that pick and roll game. So, I mean, Illinois is just a complete team right now. I think they will do it. But, I got an eye on Alabama, too, because Alabama has done something that nobody has thought about this year, winning the SEC, to how they've been playing, during the season and stuff like that. That's going to be an interesting key, how they make it through the NCAA if they can be up in that Final Four tier.
Cool. Interesting. All right, I'll talk about mine in a minute. But, Andrew, I want you to talk about number 33 from Georgetown, Patrick Ewing, and what happened to him at the Garden last week.
What happened to him was just an embarrassment for an embarrassment of an organization. And James Dolan should have already, but needs to immediately come out with a public apology to not just the Patrick Ewing, but to all Knicks fans alike. Because what happened should have never happened with Spike Lee, should have never happened with Charles Oakley. But what happened was to the greatest Knick of all time. It's not just a coincidence that I have that up there this week. His jersey is one of only 7 hanging up in Madison Square Garden in Knicks history. He's the greatest New York Knick in Knicks history. He's one of the 50 greatest players in the NBA. And you're going to have one of your idiot security guards stop him from entering the building and question who he is. Let's start with take away everything that he's done for that organization. First of all, he's 7 feet, 260 pounds. Even if you don't know your basketball and you're in Madison Square Garden, you got to assume he's a basketball player, let alone Patrick Ewing. You're going to stop Patrick Ewing and ask to see his credentials and ID before you can let him enter the building that you technically built. Yankee Stadium is the house that Babe Ruth built. Madison Square Garden is the house that Patrick Ewing built. And you're going to ask to see his ID. And you're not even going to come out as the owner of this embarrassing organization and come out and issue a public apology. I'm ashamed as a Knicks fan. With what happened with Spike Lee last year, with what happened with Charles Oakley 3 years ago, I already wanted to light a flame to all my jerseys. But now it just adds the sickness to my stomach of what is going on in New York City.
Yeah, exactly. They're asking him, you want to see my ID? It's up there. That's my ID right there.
It's 33. Up there, right. Go look up in the rafters. It's hanging.
That's me, exactly. And I'm so happy that they won that tournament. They went in there. They won the Big East tournament. They're going to the NCAAs, and I actually have them winning their first-round game, upsetting whoever they're playing in the first round. I forget, but I have them moving on to the second round.
The guards got to fire that security guard just for not knowing who Patrick Ewing is.
Yeah, exactly. How do you not know? Exactly.
It should be a requirement to work at the Garden.
Oh, you should for sure. Well, my last take here is very simple. It's March Madness time, man. Last year, I missed this tournament. I live for this tournament every year. I love March Madness, man. I remember growing up, my dad and I would we'd cut out the brackets from the newspaper. We'd fill it out. We'd put it on his office wall. and we'd be watching the games. You know, this is before they had 4 channels, so we'd hope CBS would flip to a better game and this and that. So March Madness has always had a real big spot in my heart for me and my dad. So I'm real excited that March Madness is back. I have Gonzaga going undefeated and winning the whole thing. I think this is their year. I think there's some karma here as far as being in the same city. So, you know, I'm taking the Zags, and I'm going strong with them all the way to the final, and hopefully win this thing. So it's going to be a good couple of weeks here, boys. You guys were excellent. You all brought it tonight, and I thank each and every one of you. Felix, Andrew, Ray, thank you all so much for bringing it tonight. Stay tuned for Real Talk is on at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central. Make sure you like and subscribe to the page. Feel free to leave a comment. You know, if you guys want to, we have t-shirts. I forgot to talk about the t-shirts. If you want to buy a t-shirt, they're $14.99 plus shipping and handling. If you're a big dude like me, it costs a little bit extra. So go out and buy a t-shirt. Support the network. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. And there you go. There's the t-shirt thing. Yeah, sorry, I didn't warn you about that, Chris. Sorry. Yeah. So yeah, everyone just stay tuned to the network. We got amazing stuff coming up. But coming up at 9:30, we got Real Talk with all those cats. You're gonna love that show. And we will bring it again next week, guys. So peace out. We'll see you next week.
Peace.
It's been
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making the plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. Great eye in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics never the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. Network. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.